It's the Mike Francesa podcast on the Bet Rivers Network.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Mike Francesa podcast, brought to you, as always, by the good folks at Bet Rivers. And in this very busy time where games galore come your way, go to the Bet Rivers app, download it for all of your wagering needs and for all your entertainment, and maybe for a chance to pick up plenty of cash, including $10,000 if you play the Squares game, and all the details are right there. Now, finally, in his weekly address, which the New York media just waits for his appearance, and then when he's finished his McAfee appearance, everyone has their news of the day with Aaron Rodgers. And today, Rodgers, first, he made the statement, the bright statement that finally had to come out of the Jet organization. It should have come a long time ago. It didn't. Now it finally has, and it was Aaron Rodgers who made it, and that is, of course, that he will not take the field this year, which never made any sense. He admitted he's not nearly 100%. He says if they were in contention, he would have thought about pushing the issue, but it would have still meant he was further along than he is right now. We don't know if he would have gotten there. Now they can finally back off, do the smart thing, have him prepare to be ready when it counts, which is next August and September. August so that he can practice with the team, September so that he can be ready for opening day. Now, after making that smart statement, which should have been made long ago by the organization, but finding a smart person inside the Jet organization is a fruitless endeavor at best. The thing he did next, though, was in line with the holiday season. He played Santa Claus, because what he did was throw bouquets, or maybe you want to call them at this time of year, Christmas presents, to all his contemporaries inside the leadership of the Jets. And we know who really runs the franchise. We know it's Mr. Rodgers. It still is Mr. Rodgers' neighborhood, and he today declared that he intends on playing multiple seasons, which, of course, put a smile on everybody's face. And then he told you how wonderful he thought everybody was doing, that they are not rebuilding, even though they had another losing season. They have an awful record under this regime, under this GM, under this head coach. And he made sure to throw bouquets to the general manager. Oh, he's put wonderful players, except the ones that Rodgers recommended, none of whom played well this year. And he made sure to say what a wonderful coach Salah is. I'm glad he said that, because no one else is going to say it, at least this side of Salah. Look at his record. Look at his in-game moves. Look at how the team is often listless in big games and really never prepared offensively. And then he talked about the wonderful offense, which he admitted was built for him by Mr. Hackett, the beleaguered Mr. Hackett. So he made sure that he sent the message, I want, as we expected, I want Hackett back. I want Salah back. I want the GM back. I want everybody in place. Nobody's going anywhere, despite what the fans think, despite what the media thinks, despite maybe in the inner recesses what the owner thinks. We wouldn't know that. But clearly, the face of the franchise, the leader of the franchise, and without question, the one who is setting the direction for the franchise is Aaron Rodgers. There is no question about that. So he made it clear today that, hey, makes no sense for me to step on the field this year, and it's not happening. Thankfully, we've talked about that since the first time it was ever mentioned. It would have been one of the dumbest decisions in the history of the National Football League, and I think had at least a 50-50 chance of ending in injury. It's not happening, so we know that. And it never should have even been considered, no matter what their record was. And he made sure to say he wants everybody back. And I think, let's be honest, I'll be surprised no matter what happens, no matter what coach is jettisoned anywhere, I think Salah and his crew are going to be back for another year. And I think, obviously, it's going to be an important season. Obviously, they have got to try to build an offensive line around this quarterback to keep him upright and keep him in the games. And he does need another wide receiver. But there is a lot of places to get that wide receiver. The bottom line is they can't miss on their first-round pick. They don't have a second-round pick. Their first-round pick, which should be an offensive lineman. Now, if you're going to tell me the Jets are going to be in a position to draft Harrison, you're going to make it difficult for me to look the other way. And I don't think they'll be in that position, but if they are, that would be a tough one to pass up because I think he has a chance to be a generational wide receiver. I really do. And I think that would be very hard, but it would also then put a tremendous amount of pressure for them to utilize every other resource they have to go out and find the right people. Now, remember, they haven't been able to, even when they draft them, to find the right people on the offensive line. This has to happen. It would be very nice if they could get a big receiver to play opposite Wilson. Very nice. But I can live with a guy, and there are a lot of wide receivers in this draft. I can live with a guy who has potential and speed, and as long as Rodgers is there, I can see Rodgers getting him the ball and working with him and getting him honed. But if a Marvin Harrison Jr. is available, I have to admit, he is extremely difficult to pass up. I mean, very, very hard to pass up. That changes everything for me, but I don't expect it to happen. But let's be honest. If Douglas isn't up to the challenge, get somebody in there with him. Let him keep the job. I don't care that he keeps the job. Let him find somebody who he can lean on to build this offensive line once and for all. The Giants have to do the same thing. Giants have to do the same thing. They have thrown all kinds of resources at the offensive line, and it hasn't worked. And the Jets, it's not about being unlucky with the offensive line. It's about not being able to build an offensive line. The offensive lines do not have to be built with stars. What you need are players who fit a mold. Offensive lines need cohesion. They need depth, and they need versatility. You need players who fit roles and can play multiple positions because there's going to be injuries. When that can't-miss guy is there early in the draft, you have to know it, okay? When there's a Zach Martin there, you got to know it and take him. That's all there is to it. When there's that kind of player there, you have to know he's there and take him. And you can't miss on those kind of players. But their offensive line is so woefully weak, so woefully inadequate, it will take so much of their time and effort and resources to get a line that will be worthy to be in front of this quarterback. Listen, he's 40 years old. He has been injury prone of late. We know how gifted he is, but he has got to be protected at all costs. Otherwise, you're going to have just a sequel to what happened this year. And the next time will be the last time. There won't be another comeback from a brutal injury. Does he have 2 years or 3 years left in him? 3 seems extreme. 2 seems possible. Right now, you'd sign for 1 good one. Right now, you'd just like to see him get through an entire season and see what it produces. But he today finally set them on the agenda for next year. And it took him to create order, create sensibility, and then send the message that the others, I'm sure, hoped he would send. And that is that he's fine and really not fine, just overwhelmingly effusive in his, lauding the guys in these jobs, even though we know it's all nonsense. He wants those people in that place. This is what he wants, and he'll get what he wants. We know that. Is it going to bum you out if Sally gets another injury? Yeah, well, the most important thing is that the quarterback is healthy and happy and underline protected. That has to happen. Without that third ingredient, nothing else will work. But at least I don't have to hear any more of the silliness about him playing this year, which I not only never took seriously, but I was afraid that it could possibly happen because of the fact that it's the Jets. No organization worth anything, worth even anything or having any credibility would have even considered such a foolhardy gesture. But they were behind it seemed 100%. And thankfully, it didn't happen. As far as the Giants, listen, people got behind the 3-game winning streak. They got behind the Tommy DeVito saga, which was colorful and a good diversion in the season. Was it overboard? Yes. Was that clear that it was overboard? Yes. But now that it's over after a crash and burn game against the same team that I can tell you has not played well this year, has not played well defensively, has not played well offensively. In that game last week, they did both. They ran the ball, they threw the ball for meaningful yardage and scores, and they stopped the run, which they hadn't done all year, and they got to the quarterback. Now, I'm not really interested in the saga of DeVito and his personal appearances and whether he and his agent are trying to hold up pizzerias for double the original, price for an appearance. All right. Those are the stories that come with the fame that DeVito has found in this crazy season. And he can go from being very favored to very, very much the villain very quickly with those kind of moves. Maybe it was a difference of opinion. Maybe it was bad information. Maybe the agent got ahead of himself. Who knows? But you have to, as a young player, be careful with that stuff. This has come like lightning in a bottle. Sometimes that can be hard to handle, and it's got to be handled properly. Otherwise, it can go from being wonderful to ugly in the snap of a finger. And that career can change in the snap of a finger. But right now, the Giants, all they should be trying to do is see if they can play spoiler in these final couple of games. Okay? The two against the Eagles are the ones we're being specific about because they play the Eagles in Philly, and the Eagles will desperately treat the Giants like really the Christmas gift they desperately need. Not the ones they want, the one they need now that they lost that game last night. And again, it was what we've seen from the Eagles. And I'm telling you don't like the Eagles completely turning their defensive staff upside down this late in the season. Listen, the Eagles have injuries and they had defections early in the season. They had injuries. They have had a lot of injuries to their secondary. But they're not the same team offensively either. And Hurts, despite his abilities, which are pronounced, continues to turn the ball over at an alarming rate this year. But let's be honest. Locke, who had done nothing in the game, and a game the Eagles had plenty of chances to put away. When the Saints were down to one timeout, I did not think they'd get the ball back. They got the ball back. And I'll tell you, some people are critical of Metcalf at times. We know what kind of wondrous athlete he is. The build, the power, the speed, the whole thing. He made some unbelievable catches to set up the big pass play that finally won the game. I mean, he really did. He caught balls that there was no way to catch. On his back, holding the ball so it didn't hit the ground, against what was really two guys, and pulling the ball away and getting his feet down and getting in bounds, or getting his knee down to be exact, and making a brilliant catch. And then that Bradbury say, hey, I got caught because I was trying to take away the first down. Why did you care about the first down in the final seconds of the game? Why are you worried about a first down? They don't have enough time to have that many plays. And instead he gets beat, and the pass was absolutely perfect. The catch was terrific. Everything about it was as exacting as you could possibly hope for. And what a terrific win for the Seahawks, who now, after having a terrible run, having lost 5 out of 6, playing without Geno Smith, banged up on defense last night, without really key people, having, not only injuries, but some problems with people on that defense. And they come back and win that game out of nowhere. Who thought when they had to go 92 yards, down 4, that they're going to go 92 yards? With a minute left and one timeout, they're going to go 92 yards to win that game. Not that many people could have possibly thought that Locke had that in him. And what a terrific, terrific performance. And really a game that turns around their season. Gets them to 7-7. And when you look at it, these are games that they can win. I mean, they can actually, they have the Steelers, who are reeling, and they're going to play Mason Rudolph at quarterback in week 17. In week 16, they have, I'm trying to remember. They have the Titans on the road. Then they have the Steelers at home. And then they have the Cards in week 18. Those are 3 games that they can win. Now, I'm not saying that the Cards can't beat them. They can. I'm not saying that the Titans can't beat them. They can. And the Steelers can beat them. But those are 3 games that a well-coached team, and Pete Carroll's team is going to be well-coached, can win. And that game last night kept them alive. Kept them, they were dead if they lost last night. Kept them alive. Got them to really 7-7, with the Rams at 7-7. And as I've said all along, I think there's a good chance 9-7 can get you a win on a tiebreaker in the NFC as far as the wild card. And I think it's going to take 10 games in the AFC to win a wild card. You're probably going to need 10 in tiebreakers. I think 9 in tiebreakers will get somebody in. And remember, there's only 2 slots open because Philly and Dallas are already in. So one's winning the division and one's the wild card. We know that. One's the first wild card. So you got 2 slots open there. But I think somebody can win it with 7, can win that. Maybe at 9-8, they can definitely win it. At 10-7, they're in. So if Seattle wins the 3 games, they're in. At 9-8, I think somebody's going to get in, with 9 wins. I think that's going to happen. You have Minnesota at 7-7. They have the Lions twice. You have New Orleans and Tampa at 7-7, and Atlanta 6-8 for the division title there. And you have the Rams at 7-7, and they've done a very good job to be there. So Green Bay has slipped now to 6-8. So I think there will be a 9-win team in the NFC in the wild card, And I think it'll take 10. I don't think anybody will get in the wild card with 9 in the AFC. I think there's too many teams sitting where they are right now, including Cleveland at 9-5, Buffalo at 8-6, and Cincinnati at 8-6, and Indianapolis and Houston and Jacksonville all at 8-6. So I think it's going to take 10 to get in there. And a couple of weeks ago, Jacksonville was an out-and-out lock. But they have fallen on some hard times, and they have to right the ship. But so do the Eagles. The Eagles have lost 3 games in a row now. They're not the same team they were last year. They're not the same team offensively. They're not the same team defensively. They have missed their coordinators a lot, especially their offensive coordinator. They have turned the ball over. Hurts has turned the ball over repeatedly in big spots. They will always move the ball. But they have the easiest schedule in the league for the last 3 games. Giants, Cardinals, Giants. Let's be honest. If you're thinking anything of the Eagles anymore, and I know they've gone from 10-1 to 10-4, but if you're thinking anything about the Eagles, they can't lose any one of these 3 games. Any one of these 3 games would be an unforgivable loss at the end of the season. And this week in Philly, they have to treat the Giants as nothing short of a Christmas present. That's all there is to it. I mean, that's what they have to just pound on the Giants and not even make the second half that important. Because let's be honest, go look at it. The Eagles have not had a lot of games this year that have not been close. They've trailed at half a lot. And their defense the last couple of weeks has really, really given up a lot of points. Last night they didn't in the rain in Seattle, but they gave up a big touchdown with the game on the line. Before that, they had allowed 34 to Buffalo in a win, 42 to San Francisco, 33 to Dallas, and last night they lose 20-17 to Seattle. And yes, Pete Carroll has some kind of hex on the Eagles, which, hey, I don't think that has anything worth discussing, but it is wild that he continues to beat the Eagles the way he does. That was a wild pull-it-out win last night. A great one for Seattle, a great one for Pete Carroll, a great one for Locke's career, a rough one for the Eagles, who need to snap out of it right now. Without any question. And they have the schedule that should allow them to snap out of it. They win their last 3 games, they win the division. You don't want to be on the road if you can help it. Okay, most likely the Niners are going to have the 1 seed, which means you're going to have to probably in the NFC go through San Francisco and beat them there to get to a Super Bowl. That's fine. That's the way it is. That's the way it is. But you want to get some home games along the way, and the Eagles still can do that if they keep their mind to business, which means get ready and be thinking Giants now and again in 2 weeks with the Cardinals in between. And for the Giants, hey, you got 3 games left. On to next year. Dable's not going anywhere. This has been a very tough season. That was an ugly performance in New Orleans. The Jets got hammered for their performance, but let's be honest, the Giant performance wasn't any good either. New Orleans, which has not beat up on anybody, just pounded them on both sides. They outclassed them in every way. And I would think if you're Dable, you better prepare your team for the best the Eagles have to offer this week because they sure need it. They need a rip-roaring win to get their heads right because obviously right now nothing seems right in Philly except when it's something and 1, 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, then the all's right with the world because they have that play down pat. That's for sure. It's like clockwork, and it never fails. I mean, absolutely never. So we will be back with our Football Friday for the Christmas weekend. You know there's a lot going on game-wise. You know you have games on Christmas Eve. You know you have a game at 8 o'clock on Christmas Eve. You have games on Sunday, which is Christmas Day. And then, of course, you have, obviously, Monday is a holiday again this year because, you know, Christmas is on a Sunday. It's a holiday, but, you know, you got 3 games on Christmas Eve on Sunday, a full schedule. You got a couple of games on Saturday. You got Saints and Rams on Thursday, which matters. You have 2 games on Saturday, Bengals and Steelers, Bills and Chargers, not thinking much out of the Bills and Chargers. Then you have your Sunday slate, which is Christmas Eve, but they're going to also play at 8 o'clock. They're going to play the Pats and the Broncos. So you're going to have a game at 8:15 on the NFL Network, Pats and Broncos. I don't know if they'd play a game on Christmas Eve that late. They are. Cowboys and Dolphins play at 4:25. That's going to be the feature game there, which will cause some rumblings in some households. And then, you know, listen, if you have to give up the Pats and the Broncos, you're going to do it. And then you have 3 big games on Monday, which is Christmas Day. You have Raiders and Chiefs at 1, Giants and Eagles at 4:30, and then the Ravens and the Niners for the 1 seed. Probably, very possibly the 1 seed in both conferences to the winner. The winner will get the 1 seed. The loser might lose the 1 seed. Or at least it's going to be tougher for the loser for the 1 seed. But these 2 teams, both at 11-3, have a very big chance maybe to see each other again, as a matter of fact, because they're playing very, very good football right now. And a lot on the line when they meet out on the coast at 8:15 on Christmas night. So a lot of football this weekend. We'll have our Football Friday podcast for you up on Friday morning early on this holiday weekend. We'll see you later.
Thanks for listening to the Mike Francesa podcast on the Bet Rivers Network.